Hi, everyone. So my name is Libby Durbin. I am a marketing strategist for Mojo Media Lab. And I have the awesome privilege of talking to you today about ABM Foundations. And so a little bit about my foundation and about my background. I actually started my career in marketing technology. So I'm pretty familiar. I worked for a startup called Bigster, who way back in the day did email signature marketing. I got to be involved in their ABM program there. And then when we were acquired by Terminus, I was obviously involved in that as well. So I have a lot of background in ABM, a lot of background in marketing technology, and am super excited to talk about some ABM foundations and the things that you probably need in place in terms of starting your ABM program. So before we get started, I did this presentation last night for my boyfriend, who is an attorney, and he said, do they know what ABM means? And I said, they're attending an ABM webinar. I really hope they know what ABM means. But if you don't, before this, obviously, let's start at the basics. ABM is account-based marketing. So we're going to be walking through the foundations. That's probably foundation number one is the acronyms. That's big in marketing. So today we're going to be walking through a couple things, and please feel free. Obviously, we have the chat going. We have the Q&A. I have those up. So if you have any questions along the way, or if you have any comments, please feel free to hop into the chat. I'll see those and get to those as they come. And I'm super excited. I'd love to keep this very interactive, even though I can't necessarily see all of you in person or see your faces. I'd love to get any of your reactions. So our agenda today, we're going to be walking through a couple of things, but I kind of want you to think about this in terms of breaking it up into blocks. So everyone, especially people that are familiar with ABM technologies, knows the team framework or the target, engage, activate, and measure. So when we look at our agenda today, I want you to kind of think about identifying your goals and targeting as that target, that initial phase, the content development as that engagement, tracking intent data, orchestration as activation, and executive blessing and marketing mindset as measurement. So we'll dive right in. So the foundation of every account-based marketing program should be specific to your organization's needs. ABM is not a single formula. So I'm hoping that the 26 of you who are joining us today, as you go through this, you might be like, well, we have some of these, but we don't have some of these. Or we have this in place, but we don't have that in place. And that should be the case. But the truth of the matter is, if you don't have any of these things, starting from a fresh start is a great place as well. And building upon these things can really help strengthen the foundation of your ABM program. So I just wanted to say that as well, because there might be some things in here that you see that your company already has, and that's awesome. All right. Oh, I apologize. All right. So let's hop into identifying your goals, aligning the strategy to the outcome. So Allison and I, she's in the chat somewhere. She obviously works with our strategy and delivery team at Mojo, and we talk about this all the time. And I heard her on the AMA roundtable as well, saying this, like the why behind it is really important. So understanding the strategy and how that gets you to the outcome. So what is your overall revenue goal? Is the goal of starting an ABM program high customer churn? You're noticing that the people that you're closing deals with aren't staying, so they might not be a good fit. Is the purpose to accelerate your pipeline? Because right now you're seeing a lot of cold ops, or you're seeing that your sales process is actually slowing down. Another goal could be account expansion. Nowadays, especially within the world that we live in, retention is the new acquisition. And within that retention, you need to make sure you're continuing to expand within your accounts. So identifying the goals and the strategy, it leads to the strategy behind your ABM foundation. So making sure you have those goals in place. Your revenue goal And the goal that you set out there should heavily impact how many target accounts you have, and the way that you develop your smaller metrics that lead to the larger revenue goal. All right. So we can move into targeting. I don't know if you guys have had this session on building your target account list yet or not, but this is going to be somewhat redundant. So clarifying your ICP and building your list. We see a lot of times that sometimes people look at their ICP in terms of, this is what we want. I think something that's super, super important is to start from the basis of what problem do we solve for and who do we best solve this problem for. So when we are working with our customers and I'm getting to talk to them and we're talking about our target account list development, one of the biggest things that we say is like, pick a couple of your favorite customers, the customers that you have case studies on, the customers that just like row your boat, that you know that you can reach out to for any kind of support in terms of sales or anything like that, and model your account list after what those accounts look like and what those customers look like. This will also really help you identify the problem that you solve for and where you fit in the market. And that'll help you define the characteristics that make up the organization. I think a lot of times when we are discussing ICP and building out the list, we get very stuck in the logos, but we kind of sometimes need to think a little bit broader and make sure that we're addressing the market that we actually fit within and the market that we do the best work for. So that's a foundational element. Obviously, everyone knows the target account list is almost the most crucial part that you have within an account-based marketing program. Are there any questions on that? If so, just throw them in the chat, and I'll be happy to get to them even if we move off the screen. Awesome. So content development. So when we talk about engagement, we need to make sure that, after we've identified the characteristics of the accounts that we're working with, the problem that we're solving for, that we need to make sure that there is a library of content for your sales team to derive their engagement from, as well as for you to obviously drive engagement off of. And so making sure that you have content that directly addresses the problems for those target account lists, whether that be persona specific content that speaks to how your specific buyer persona or your specific buyer committee has a problem or an issue that they need solved for, or even a vertical. So how you solve for the problems within a specific industry. So making sure you have that content built out. Obviously, I think one of the most important things too, and we do this with a lot of our customers as well, is making sure we have an evergreen piece of content that we can continually repurpose and customize or hyper-personalize based on the campaign that they have. If it's a vertical specific piece of content, making sure you have that you can layer on persona specific information to continue to repurpose that content, as well as making sure that the content is personalized and relevant for your audience. I think the content creation comes a little bit before deciding if you're in-house or you're doing this in-house or outsourcing, but making sure that you have all of the right pieces ready to engage the target account list that you are that you've already built, so, and the buyer personas that you've already identified. How are you going to reach them? How are you going to engage with them? And making sure that that content and that library that you're drawing from is personalized and specific to your account, specific to your buyer personas, and specific to the industries that you work with. I've also seen a lot of people when they talk about content development, making sure that you also, and this is something that I think is largely overlooked in ABM, but actually making sure that you have content that addresses your competitors. So making sure you have competitive content, and that way you can also, segment your list and target people that are using competitors or that have used competitors in the past with that relevant content. So content development is really the engagement portion, and you want to make sure that you have that ready and that foundational piece is there. Whether you did this in-house or outsourcing, that content creation is really dependent on your company's resources. Yeah, so I just got a question. Can you give an example of a competitive type of content? So, and I hope everyone can see that. In my mind, competitive content is directly addressing how you solve for the problem versus how your competitor solves for the problem in your space. It can be as simple as calling it directly out and saying, my company's product versus, or like, I struggle to use any brands or any or obviously companies here, but saying, how Terminus versus demand-based, or 6 Sense versus demand-based. Having that content readily available to your customers or your potential customers is truly one of the building blocks of your ABM program, because it's building trust within your audience, that you know the difference between the products and how you can best solve for that product. So that competitive content is just very direct and speaking to how you solve for a problem in your industry over your known competitors. Awesome, that was a great question. All right, so moving into tracking intent data. So this is the activation portion. This is really where we see making sure that we have any kind of automation or operational things in place to actually activate our sales and marketing team. So putting in place the ability to measure your success. Whether it be dashboards, whether it be creating a manual scoring model based on your own first-party data, your CRM data, or leveraging a technology to track intent signals. There are lots of technologies out there that solve for kind of what a lot of organizations call the dark funnel, or the anonymous website activities. That is really crucial to identifying when there's intent on your accounts. And the purpose of identifying intent and being able to track it is so, when your marketing team is putting in the effort and the hard work to warm up those leads and make sure you have air coverage, and your BDR team is working alongside them, they can know when your accounts are ready and ripe to be reached out to. And that's really, that's the goal of ABM, is putting the most relevant message in front of your most relevant audience at the most relevant time. So it's really important that as an organization, a marketing, sales, and executive organization, that you understand what you consider to be meaningful engagement, because this varies. We certainly talk about this with lots of our clients. This varies what you determine as meaningful engagement and what is important to your organization. For some people, blog activity, case study downloads, that can be really important signals for intent, and that's really dependent on their market and their audience, because it is a signal of intent. And yeah, Tani put that in quotes. Thank you, Tani. I definitely think it's very, very important to understand that that is the purpose of ABM. And so making sure you have alignment around meaningful engagement, making sure you have a way to track that engagement and track intent so that when it is a relevant time in the buying cycle and your audience is hearing the right message, your sales team can convert them and hopefully it accelerates your pipeline. And creating that scoring model obviously goes along with that. So marketing and sales orchestration. This, I won't lie to you. This slide was truly called marketing and sales handoff, or marketing and sales. It's the buzzword right now. And you know, it's a buzzword for a reason. I feel like marketing and sales alignment, sorry, that's what it is. Thank you, Nicole. Marketing and sales alignment is really important. But I think that even more than alignment, it's working in orchestration and making sure that you break down the silo to grow. Because even if you're aligned on things and if you have the same goals, you have to make sure that your processes and your orchestration is set up to help your marketing and sales team do the tango and dance flawlessly. So breaking down that silo to grow, you know, you want to make sure that your marketing and sales team are aligned on the multi-touch approach that ABM is. So we've seen in the past with inbound methodology that typically the specific target accounts that sales are working on, marketing isn't working on. They're trying to grow the new lead pipeline, the MQLs, the net new accounts. But ABM it's one of the most important aspects of it is this orchestration of you know, marketing working in conjunction with sales to create a beautiful symphony. So the marketing and sales orchestration, I put this in here. This is something that your team should work on. So, you know, handoff is a big term, but I was talking to Nicole Rose yesterday and she's saying, you know, handoff happens multiple times in a buyer journey cycle prior to a customer becoming a customer. And she's totally correct. The orchestration is actually, you know, like we're handing it off to you and then you hand it back off to us when we need these accounts to continue to be nurtured and to provide consideration level content around. And then we hand it back to sales and we make sure that they are aligned and they have account-based sales decks. So making sure you have your orchestration built out and mapped out is very important, and that that process is in place and your marketing and sales team is aligned on it. And then also, this is a hill that I will die on, but I think one of the most important and crucial parts of building an ABM foundation is working with sales to build the target account list based on those best fit customers. Sales is going to be working with this list too. Marketing is going to be working with it just the same. And so it's really important that you build it with their knowledge of what's going on in the market, as well as their buy-in. I think that it's really important that both marketing and sales have a hand in the target account list so that both teams have a buy-in and stake in that account list converting. Because truthfully, when it's siloed in marketing or when it's siloed in sales, and you know, it might not convert well, or it might not be based on best fit customer data. Sometimes I think that, you know, there can be the finger pointing or a misalignment between marketing and sales. So creating some alignment and some being in sync with that target account list being built by both sales and marketing is really important. And then the last thing is, and this is controversial because I know that it's something that's really important to me is that people know that like ABM is not one specific technology or one specific software, but having the tech in place to activate sales, or at least having the process in place to activate sales. So making sure that when you've built out this orchestration, that there is a way for sales to know when there are signals or when there is intent being shown to act on. Especially, you see this with pipeline acceleration as well, making sure that your sales team can see, even just throughout the sales process, if there's any additional intent signals that they can act upon to accelerate that pipeline, is really, really, really important. So having tech in place to activate sales. So what that looks like is intent-based tech. So you have organizations like Bombora that do it specifically based on intent, G2, or even engagement level data, depending on, this could look like ad engagement all the way to website chat engagement. I know a lot of technology companies and B2B companies leverage AI chat in order to activate their sales team. And there's even amazing technology that can identify when your target account is chatting on your website so that your sales can actually act upon it and activate. So I do think that this is a crucial part, but tech is not ABM, and it happens from an orchestration of efforts and strategies, so and tactics. But I think tech holds a very important role in making sure that you can actually activate your sales team. All right, executive blessing. Yep, strategy first. So this is another slide that I changed up because I had executive buy-in, and we always talk about buy-in, and I think buy-in is important, and it's a great way of saying it, but I think what's really missing there is executive blessing and making sure that your executive team understands strategy and is like completely on board for what it will take. And so I think that sometimes you can get buy-in with obviously something at stake, right? Saying like these are the results that are going to perform. And I think that that's really important, but making sure you also have that blessing from your executive team. So making sure they understand the overall strategy, making sure they know that ABM is not fast. It's not a silver bullet. You can see on here that the ABM timeline, I think this is industry standard, but I can't remember the source. Most successful ABM programs take anywhere between 6 to 12 months to truly start seeing any kind of success. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. Making sure your executive team understands that. Lead versus revenue measurement. I think a lot of times we hear this with clients a lot, where they're like, well, we're completely bought into ABM, but we haven't seen any new leads, or people haven't clicked on this and clicked on that. Making sure that there really is a mindset shift from lead versus revenue measurement for marketing, as well as sales, in terms of the actual measurements that you are, that your team is held to. Cross-functional buy-in. And I actually just saw a question. So here, hold on. I'll go ahead and answer this. How can I showcase success prior to the 6-month mark? I want to keep my team and leadership engaged and excited about the program. I love this question. I don't know who anonymous attendee is, but this is a great question. I think showcasing success really comes down to some of this cross-functional buy-in as well, making sure that you highlight the success of, we built this target account list working with sales. And also, showing the foundational elements that you've put into place, the content development. I think that is a success, creating that alignment, that orchestration, those processes, taking time to put the work into the orchestration is no small feat. So definitely don't downplay that. I also think a good way to showcase success is typically with engagement. So even if you don't have the revenue attribution yet, you can at least see the additional engagement and making sure that you're highlighting how you are engaging your best fit audience. And again, we've said it before, we'll say it again, strategy first. So I think showcasing success will also be like making sure that everyone knows the strategy and keeping them updated. The timeline can be hard for some people, and this does not come easy for most leadership. But I will say that hopefully they'll be engaged and excited about the cross-functional work that's going on. Hopefully, having that orchestration, that process put into place, as well as showing some engagement on those top fit accounts will really make a difference. All right. So moving from executive blessing, again, this is kind of in the measurement format. I wanted to touch on and make sure we had enough room for questions, and so we actually do have some time for questions. I hope people have questions. In terms of measurement, making sure you have the right dashboards in place as well, making sure that you know how to measure success, like the anonymous attendee just asked, how can we measure success before that 6-month mark? And in a lot of ways, tech comes into place because there is automation to be able to measure that success on ad engagement, anonymous website visits, landing page visits, as well as email. And so making sure that you have tech in place for those things is very, very, very important. Anyway, all right. So the next thing is along the same page, marketing mindset. So transitioning from quantity to quality. Again, this falls under measurement. What is your goal with the transition to ABM? This comes back to the very beginning, and making sure that the goal is we want quality leads. We want leads that when they enter the pipeline, we know that they're going to close. So there's honestly a big change in mindset, because I think for a long time, marketing has been held to inbound methodology, where you have to generate so many leads per month, and what those leads look like, it doesn't necessarily matter. And I think there is definitely something to be said. I will say this like 10 times over. There's something to be said about having inbound methodology in conjunction with your ABM program, especially during the beginning stages, and making sure you're still continuing to generate net new. But when you've identified your best fit total addressable market, your best fit accounts, transitioning from that quantity to quality is going to be hard, but it's going to be very important. You know that the leads that are converting are going to go into the pipeline and have a high rate of success, because you know that they would be awesome customers for you. And so making sure that when you're measuring your ABM program, you update that marketing mindset, and transition from quantity to quality is really important. And being ready to measure against target account engagement and revenue versus leads. Being measured against revenue is never fun, obviously, because it's a lot of stress, but I think it's the most meaningful metric that marketing can contribute to, and what we should all be working towards. Also, making sure that ABM is the best strategic move for your business. There are B2B companies that have really long, drawn out buying cycles that this might not be the best fit for. This might not be the best fit for you if your sales organization functions in a way that's not account-based, or territory-based, or where it's easy to segment out those accounts. Making sure your mindset is in the right place is foundational. And I think additionally, I told him I would say this again, I did this presentation for my boyfriend to make sure everything made sense. Like I said, he's an attorney, and he said, I get it. You have to, if you're looking for clicks, this is not the right thing for you. But if you're looking for cash, this is the right thing for you. So keep that cash versus clicks mindset, and make sure that, you know, when you are thinking about, you know, your contribution, how to show success, that it's leading to a higher revenue number, because you're going to get the best fit accounts. You're going to get people clicking that mean it, or people clicking that will turn into reoccurring revenue. And again, retention is the new acquisition. You know, making sure that also your mindset is to growing your current account, and having that measurement also towards account growth is really important, and making sure that that's in place. All right, we have a fair amount of time left, but I did want to see if there were any questions. I know I went through a lot today. Hopefully you have some of this already in your back pocket. Hopefully you're ready to hop into some of these foundational things. Are there any questions about technology, about you know, different ways to measure success, like the last question? I'll give it a second. I hate not being able to hear people, I won't lie. And again, I think, you know, ABM is not one single formula. ABM is truly a formula that fits for your, okay, so I just got a question. A formula that fits for your organization and your needs. And so I just got a question. What are the metrics to measure engagement again? So these are going to be specific to your metrics for your organization, like I said. But I think one of the most important metrics that you can measure to is intent. I think intent data comes from a variety of sources. You see it with anonymous website visits, you see it with ad engagement, you see it with chat coming onto your website, your first party data. You can also see it on third party data, even going on to G2 or different organizations that will actually, or companies will actually track people looking up companies like you or your company in particular. So that's always one of the most important metrics to measure engagement. I would also say a good metric to measure engagement is your, like, making sure that you're aligned with sales and your BDRs, seeing their metrics that they are currently receiving, email opens, like unsubscribes. I know that no one wants to hear that, but hearing, you know, from them how your target account list is continuing to live and breathe is really important, because sometimes there are accounts that aren't good fits and you need to adjust. So I would say that also making sure that the metrics that you're looking at are from both a marketing perspective as well as sales, business development perspective, and being able to measure all of those together. I think, again, you can measure engagement as well within your current customer list. So that engagement might look like subscribes to your blog or content downloads, I think that those are really, really important things, and continuing to develop measurement around those is really important. All right, awesome. Allison, I'm glad you enjoyed the presentation. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who joined me today. I know that there is a jam-packed day, so you'll have a little bit of, oh, and I saw Allison actually raised her hand. I'm permitting you to talk. I don't know if you're asking to talk, but perfect. Awesome. No worries. All right. Well, we will go ahead and wrap up the session. I hope you guys enjoyed a little bit of the foundational elements that you took away today. And I know that the slide and maybe the video for this will be sent out. So I hope you enjoy it. Awesome.